This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, well, did everybody get a chance to look over the September meeting minutes? We're approving September's meeting minutes because we didn't have a quorum in October, so if anybody wants to make a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Steve, thank you. You wanna second that?
Because I wasn't there, I can't.
You can, okay.
Same.
Can I second it? I mean.
Oh, I guess, well, we're all.
You weren't there in September?
Your name's not on here, and I think you took these notes, didn't you?
I
Yeah.
don't remember, but I must have.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you were here.
Yeah.
I
was like, this
Alicia
is
was
in my
there.
format, so I don't think this is me, but I read it, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this sounds so familiar though. We take notes
I don't even know at
similarly.
this point, but I would second it, but then I'm like, I did that for these.
Okay,
I think you should
second
second it, yes.
Cindy is seconding.
Seconding.
All right, great. All in favor, everybody that was
Great
here?
notes,
Okay,
great.
Any public speak?
I have a couple public speaks.
Okay, great.
So I just want to give a little update on the planning director situation, because it's been 8 months now without a planning director. 3 offers have been made. 3 declines have happened over the last several months. And the most recent person, very qualified, had an interview a week and a half ago. She's also colleagues with one of our new colleagues, so was the first person who applied who really knew the situation and all that was kind of like, I think it's tough to, what I'm learning is that Jeff had applied for so much and it's all just waiting to happen. So a new person has to just hit the ground running with like a bunch of funded projects that will last years. So I think it's a little overwhelming for someone who might not be looking for that level of involvement right away. Anyway, there's a second interview tomorrow with this new person. She knows the deal. I'll just leave it at that. We all have our
So we should
fingers
just keep our
crossed.
fingers crossed.
Yes.
So he did too good.
What's that?
Jeff was too good. He teed up too much.
Jeff was great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be great to have a bunch of stuff ready to
I
go?
know.
I
It's
know.
like
I'm like,
funded.
some people, it's like that's how this job was for me. I'm like, great. I'll
Yeah.
like learn the work and learn the community.
By
Yeah.
the way, I was at the Fish concert in Albany on Sunday and Jeff Bag just stopped me and said hi.
Oh, Jeff is at the
Did he
Fish
move?
concert?
Does he live over there? He's in this area. He just left this job. Okay.
Yeah, he's around.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And then I'll save my other thing for new business.
Okay. Great, so let's dive right into programming updates.
Yeah. So Art Walk, so a couple things. It was Eastworks Open Studios. So I know that so Olive started mid-September. And it's part of the Art Walk discussion because it's part of like getting more people to Art Walk and getting Art Walk on the radar of more people. And our social media numbers, Olive started the middle of September. It was like 2 weeks of posts about Art Walk. Our monthly views on Instagram were like in the 7,000 to 8,000 range total for the month. They're now, last month it was 36,000 views. This month it was 32,000 views. And we have gained 700 new followers in the last like month and a half. Like there's just been a lot of activity on social media. The other thing is that Art Walk was very, very well attended in October. It was the first time that I think we could formally, officially say hundreds of people were in Old Town Hall for Art Walk. Like everybody was happy. That was October. This weekend, I got the sense that it was not as big, but it was like really solid and really full. I know that the artist in our gallery sold a lot of pieces. Like it was just very just solid. You know, I heard that there were like little waves throughout. This is Old Town Hall. I think Eastworks was much more well attended this month because of Open Studios. I do know that while Cottage Street and Old Town Hall in October were like, there was like a noticeable difference in attendance, Eastworks I know is still like Monsters Art Project was opening. There were hundreds of people in that one big space, but like the rest of the galleries, people were like popping in, but it was quiet. So I think that like it's important to acknowledge that Eastworks remains like is still like it's still tough. Like there are still some challenges. But I feel like overall our efforts have been really positive. I think that I've also like heard a lot more buzz. People are very happy with the 4 to 7. I mean, we started this in May, but then it was the summer. So I just kind of feel like, you know, the radio ads have continued. I just feel like there's more energy and more like knowledge around Art Walk happening.
Yeah. I went to Old Town Hall. There were people there. It was quieter, but again, we were competing with Open Studios. I think once you do Open Studios, by that point, you're like, oh, I don't want to look at anything more, you know.
Or
But-
go somewhere else
yeah.
when I'm already here.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but there were people there.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have any sense for Eastworks itself? How many people came to Art Walk at Eastworks versus Open Studios?
So one of the things I did, there's a tenant of Eastworks on the Cottage Street Cultural District Committee, and I send an email out to all of the venues every month, and just do like a general, you know, like remind everyone to post their thing. And then we've also started for several months now doing like marketing. So like a little marketing report. So like how many posts, how many newsletters, how many all these things. And that's gone out much earlier now. So like we've sort of just like better habits all around. One of the things I said in that email and to the person on the committee was like, I encouraged anyone who was going to be open for Art Walk at Open Studios to post on our website. So like our website was filled. If you went to Art Walk, there were all of these different things going on at Eastworks, in addition to the regular venues, 50 Arrow, Moonlit Sea Friends, Fiber Arts. But so yeah, I don't know how many people were. I wasn't there in the evening. I was there during
Yeah, I
the
was
day.
just curious because I was there during the day and it was really busy.
Yeah, it was
But then I was
very
curious
well
because like
attended.
to your point, I was exhausted afterwards
yeah.
and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere else. So I was just curious if people either stayed or there was like a resurgence in the
Yeah.
evening or if all the activity was primarily because of Open Studios.
I
think
can
it was-
ask.
I think it was mostly Open Studios,
Yeah.
because I mean, there wasn't, maybe it stayed into the evening. I do know that everybody was happy. That was,
And
I
people were
everybody
at the
it
was
was
last
happy.
couple
humongous.
years.
I mean, yeah,
It was
very
a
well
great
attended.
Open Studio.
It really was.
So the attendance was really, it was, and I could feel it. I had to work on Saturday, so I didn't walk the building. I just came in, did Art Walk in Old Town Hall, but then on Sunday, I walked the building. And you could just tell, people were
Well,
happy,
I
people
will
were
say, like,
selling.
Sunday, because I went both days. I mean, you were working outside, but I went inside both days. Sunday was very quiet compared to
Oh,
Saturday.
yeah, it
So
always is,
it was, yeah, it was bopping. But I mean, it may be a conversation for later, but I do think going back to sort of like the Eastworks Art Walk issue that we've been discussing for a while now, maybe with the, the darkness and it's getting cold, like maybe that's just a way to play up Eastworks for the winter months, essentially trying to drive people to there to say you can spend more time and see more galleries all inside if the weather is bad, things like that, just like more of the marketing angle on that front.
You guys, haven't we talked about like a little map that's just like, like Arts Walk hit these 3 places? Like, was there ever anything like that? Or like
We have a map now.
and it's at the galleries, because I feel like people come into the expo and I wanna just be like, hey, go, if you're loving this
So-
and you're on a roll, keep going,
The map is easy to print.
Uh-huh.
It's on our website and
Yeah.
we make it as an event. So you
Yeah.
just click on it and you see everything that's listed.
Okay.
So it's you can download it as a PDF and print it.
Just print it. Does it show like the sneaky way behind Riverside and like onto the bike path? Cause I feel like that's kind of fun, to like not be like on the main, like the cool little like by the feed store.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe
but
it's,
in the dark, nobody's gonna wanna walk that.
you get headlamps.
Nah.
Okay.
It's more of a
It's
summer
like a
thing.
map and people can
Candles.
choose how
I
they go.
don't know. I just like the idea of this these little light beams of light processing around Easthampton.
But maybe I like that idea very much.
Sorry.
No, I think it's great. But like the idea maybe to program some indoor music, some indoor performance, like just something
Yeah.
to draw people. And maybe we could do like a parade one night.
That would be fun.
Get a
It
brass
really
band.
would be fun.
I
Get your steps in.
interacted a lot with the Works like Instagram page because of Open Studios. They shared a lot of our stuff, we shared a lot of their stuff. I'm looking, they have like 4,000 followers, but they don't seem to post a lot about Art Walk. So maybe that's something that we can reach out to them and just, if nothing else, just have them reshare our posts.
Yeah, so Eastworks pre-COVID had a marketing and communications person, Marjorie Zeik, if you know her. Oh, of course you do, you live in her old house. And so like there used to be this real robust like share, and a lot of like promotion and cross promotion that really quieted. But I heard that the person that Eastworks, this is like, I'm not sure, maybe you know more, or maybe somebody here knows more. I heard that the person who Eastworks hired for the marketing campaign for Open Studios might stay on to be doing, running the, Luke Abbott, yeah. I don't know, it would be great if there was a person to do that.
So, but that's more than I knew, like they hire someone just for Open Studios to be posting all this. Cause like I would,
Yes, they did.
like even this morning I posted something and they reshared it because I had tagged them.
Yeah, no, Eastworks has been very communicative and on social media in the last like
Okay.
couple of weeks.
That
And
makes
even
sense.
for all of the Art Walk stuff too, they've been reposting and sharing.
Even more so than if we could just talk to the person who has like admin privileges, maybe they'll just be like, oh, yeah, take it over, like
Yeah,
post.
Yeah, cause there could, the collaboration posts I think are
Right.
great.
yeah, and we've talked about that too, like there is a real hub at Old Town Hall. City Space shares everything, creates their own posts. Cottage Street, I feel like has less of a hub, but there's like enough people who work together regularly where there is more activity. And I think that, yeah, Eastworks is missing like connective tissue in Eastworks. I think that would be really good.
And I think it dips in and out. I think that there is some connective tissue, but it's kind of inconsistent.
Yeah, I think in terms of marketing, I think
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
connective tissue between
Right.
Eastworks organizations.
Right, right,
But in terms of marketing for Art Walk,
right,
I
right,
guess.
yeah.
What about the other businesses like Daily Operation, the Jupiter Club, Local Burger? Could we reach out to them, because they all have active marketing and social media.
Jupiter Club's been awesome. They've been doing a lot of reposting, but yeah, I think
Well, just because like the idea is
Maybe-
that Art Walk would bring people to go to those places too.
yeah.
Because like when we went out last month for
I love
Art
that.
Walk, you know, I mean, again, there was so much happening that night, but you know, we ate dinner at Local Burger because we were there, and so maybe that's just another angle to get additional.
Yeah, maybe just like
plugging
an email, like a direct email to all of the like just local businesses and restaurants who are open during Art Walk.
Yeah, and
just
especially
like,
the Eastworks
hey,
ones,
yeah.
because they have a vested interest in
Yeah.
helping get people come there for Art Walk, because then people will stay there, so.
That's great. Cool, thank you.
Anything else on the Art Walk?
I don't think so.
Easthampton Porch Fest. Do you wanna
Sure.
just cap it, kind of do a recap?
Big success. We doubled in size in both host locations and musicians. So last year we had 6 locations, all in New City. This year we had 12 locations, about half in New City and half in the Maple neighborhood right over here. I want to say we had about 24 performers. We only had one minor snafu with someone having to drop out last minute because of COVID issues, but we were able to easily deal with that. Everyone was very happy from what I gathered. And I mean, we were hosts in New City, and you estimated there was what, like 70 people in our
At one
backyard
point, I
that
think there were like 60 people, 65 in our backyard. And
Yeah.
there was definitely, at the same time, a lot going on, like up the road and elsewhere, so it was definitely pretty busy.
It was well attended. We had people in our backyard pretty much the entire day, and I'm still running into people who are like, "Oh my god, like it was so great, it was so fun." So now we're just sort of doing this stuff where we should talk about. We didn't really do a proper debrief yet, but we should chat about payment, because I am getting people reaching out asking about payment. But yeah, that's anything else.
I talked to people who one guy came from the Hatfield Cultural Council, and he was like stoked, I wanna do this here in Hatfield. Talked to people who were Porch Fest hoppers from Connecticut,
Oh, yeah.
who just go to Porch Fest to Porch Fest.
I love that.
Yeah, just
Cool.
met a lot of really cool people, our neighbors and whatnot, so yeah,
No, it-
good time.
It's nice that people from Connecticut and other communities coming in. So.
Yeah, it was actually surprising, but it was great. And then on a side yet related note, we had some ideas from some other events that people might be interested in Easthampton. So we put up a whiteboard in our backyard and basically said, like, here are some ideas we have. Are you interested? And like vote on it. And because of that, I don't know if you did anything, but I actually ended up partnering with 2 other people who I didn't know were also interested in the event that I was interested in, and we submitted an application to the Cultural Council, so we will have to recuse ourselves for that. But it was just a nice example of
cool.
how community is being formed, because it was like, oh, this person already started submitting a grant for this idea. This person also had the idea. Let's join forces and come together. So that was really nice as well.
Wonderful.
So.
Amazing. I heard such good things from
Did you get a
people.
body count at all? I mean, the number of attendees?
So that's what we were saying, like, we don't know, our just guesstimation is like at least 300 people, but
Yeah, it was quite well attended, and there was just like people moved from New City to Maple. Some people just were in Maple, some people were just in New City. But we both tried to split up and kind of check out other spots, and almost every other spot that I went to about 6 other spots during the day, and they all were very packed with people. So it was just really good across the board. Like Casey Douglas
Yeah.
his backyard was packed. He was the last person, or the last act of the day. I got a lot of emails afterwards, and also the next day I went around and took down signs and whatnot. So I ran into a bunch of hosts who were super excited, and were basically like, I've had people asking, when is next year's Porch Fest happening? I had musicians with hosts basically saying like, oh, we had such a great time. we wanna do it again, like same place, same musicians, same porch, so that was really great. We didn't really go too far with this, but people were talking about, they're like, we wanna do like an after party. Just people were very excited, very thrilled to be able to do it. It was a really good vibe, so.
It was fun and beautiful day. Oh my
was-
God,
the
you
weather
couldn't
was
have
perfect.
asked for a prettier day.
And just big kudos and thanks to you guys. That was like a huge labor of love and so much effort, and you did such a good job, and it like really showed. I still hear from people too, like, oh my God, it was so special. And yeah, it taps into a spirit that I don't think any of our other events really do. Just like real grassroots, real neighborhood, and really beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
My brother and my cousin came up and they both wound up at the Pulaski Club for like the entire length of Porches and loved it. And they still, my cousin says it's the perfect, it's like heaven bar.
Pulaski
That
Club,
one was
is it?
the
There you
funky
go.
one.
Never
A lot of
been.
people
After party at the
received
Pulaski Club.
Pulaski Club
Honestly.
because it was like really, it was in, you had
It's
to
inside,
go
yeah,
through the bar, it
Yeah.
was inside.
in their back patio or something.
Yeah.
I've never been in there.
I still have never
Yeah.
been inside,
So
but
$2
but his
beers
family
and
loves
a
Pulaski.
free
People
jello
with
shot.
kids all skipped it. It was, I think the note I wanted to pass along, I think maybe that,
Yeah.
whatever the vibe was, but
I think that probably makes sense, but that's their own thing.
yeah. But it would be good to note that, cause there were some people who were walking with their kids and are like, oh, and left.
Cool,
Awesome.
some public art.
Public Art and Cottage Street Cultural District, at our September meeting, I mentioned that there were some questions regarding MCC funding for cultural districts. And then they said they are gonna continue it. We have been awarded $15,000 for the Cottage Street Cultural District. I put it all toward cultural chaos because we need it. And so that's really good to know so early, and we can plan according to that. And then the Public Art Committee decided to refurbish the Peggy Gross mural on Pine Street. That is underway. I hope to finish, it's taking longer than I expected, but it's been a ton of fun and very sweet. The district loves it, like everyone's so happy, and Peggy Gross is really pleased with the work, and members of the Public Art Committee and Olive have been helping out painting the mural. And we are gonna have a celebration on Saturday, November 16th at 2 p.m. With a rain date of Saturday, November 17th at 2 p.m.
Sunday.
I'm sorry, Sunday, yeah, thank you.
So
So it's Saturday
November
the 16th at 2, and then the rain date is Sunday the 17th at 2. We have a public art meeting on Wednesday. The last time we talked about this celebration, it was just very low key. It was just like words of acknowledgement, and then that's it, which surprised me a little bit. But that's the plan. So maybe just like a sort of ribbon cutting in quotes type of thing. Yeah, I think that's it for public art.
I want to acknowledge you, Pascalina, because you're doing the bulk of the work on that. And it looks great, and really, it's amazing what a little fresh paint will do,
Yeah.
right? It really revitalized that whole.
The
mural.
mural
So good.
was painted with sign paint on masonry, and it's not a great combination. It was painted 14 years ago, and it faded quickly. And we are using top of the line, fade proof, Benjamin Moore, like it's paint I know very well. And the wall is in very, very good shape. And like in 20 years, this mural should look like it looks. Like it just should be really good for a very, very long time.
You guys painting on brick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it's
primed.
like an acrylic, you prime it with a special primer, sorry, I don't wanna.
So she primed it.
Okay.
We didn't have to prime it because it was primed, and also we're working within her images. So there's definitely some artistic licensing happening. I mean, it's just part of the reality of like, A, my skill sets, and B, time. It was like, at first I was like, and then it was like, this is taking time. I mean, it's really big. I learned a lot. It was like really hard for me to plan. Like, I've just never refurbished someone else's mural before. And so, yeah. But Peggy's been great. Everybody's been great. The neighborhood's been super supportive, and it's just been very sweet. And yeah, it is amazing what some color can do. And it's a gorgeous design. It's a gorgeous mural. So
It's a beautiful mural.
it feels, honestly, like Peggy was a longstanding tenant at One Cottage Street. She just moved out like 6 weeks ago, a couple months ago. It feels very significant, like this project. Its meaning that, like, you know, it's very unusual for a city to refurbish one of its murals. It's like cities all over the country really, it's easy to secure funding to create public art. It is not easy to secure funding to repair and maintain public art. And so our Have a Heart for Public Art brunch at Galaxy every year, it's like we raise money to maintain our collection, our growing collection of public art. And the fact that, like, I had proposed this idea, you know, the artist had come to us a couple years ago and was like, it's fading, you should paint over it. And we all talked about it, and we were just like, but we love that mural. Like, no, we don't want to paint over it. So I just think it's a real, I've spoken with the Gazette. There's going to be an article the week before the 16th. I know they're interviewing Peggy Gross as well, and Denise, the chair of our committee. So I think it's like very meaningful and very Easthampton, like it gets into like how much Easthampton cares about our art and our arts and cultural community in our district. And yeah, it's been, and it's been, sorry, I wasn't anticipating talking so long, but like, I've only refurbished one other mural. It was mine in Tucson. And like, when you're standing out there, people walk by and they tell you all their stories about this mural. But they don't do that if you're not standing by your mural. So like, we're hearing, like, these kids, like, you know, this family, the little boy takes his first day of school picture in front of that mural every year. They live right at the end of the mural. His bus stop is right on the other end of the mural, and the parents walk by every day and pick him up, and this little boy like sees the mural. Like, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people who know Peggy, who remembered the colors. So this was sort of like the unexpected piece, is like the storytelling component, that the role I serve, standing out there, hearing that now as things are changing, it is very like mortar in our efforts to really call attention to like the value that art holds and has served here in our community. So it's like the timing of it all is like pretty meaningful.
Are you filming this at all? Like,
Not really.
Seems like it could make such a great little clip, you know?
Yeah, no, there's been like a lot of photo documentation, and we have a lot of photo documentation from the original project. I heard Pat Bruff stop by the mural the other day. He has a lot of footage from the original mural. We haven't really been capturing these like stories. It's hard, like,
There's so many.
I'm like,
Yeah.
But it's
There's a million
also,
things
they
to do.
come when they come, and you can't,
Yeah.
you can't.
yeah, but it would be, like, there
Schedule.
is something like very special at work, and it's like, none of us really like anticipated that. Hello. Good, how are you?
Just looking for another.
We talked
Um,
about making a post though where people could respond like with the stories that they have, so that'll still allow space for that to maybe happen personally.
And actually, one other significant thing for public art, so, and actually, for all of you to know, FYI, it's a good thing. So ECA made a map of downtown Easthampton a few years ago. It's the map you see around. Olive is now updating the map. We're adding all the city committee supported public artworks to the map. And this map, our goal is to have a trifold printed map with all the public artworks at the reception on Saturday, November 16th. So I've got the list. It'll include any Easthampton Cultural Council mural. It will include the Manhattan Rail Trail mural, and it will include ECA murals. It will not include any other mural in Easthampton, like any other public artwork that was not sponsored by the city. This was like a long conversation with the Public Art Committee. It gets real, it's slippery slope when you start including like privately owned and like what's art and what's not art and what are we including. So it just was like a real clear way to identify like the city's public art collection.
Great, thank you. All right, now we're going to the ECA Invitational Panel Discussion. Maud, do you wanna share about that?
Yeah, that was great. So we were so lucky to have the participation of Jeff Casper, who was the exhibiting artist for the ECA Invitational this year, whose work was up throughout October. He is an artist who really investigates what our relationships and responsibilities are to one another, and there's this thing that he said around the way that like the building blocks of kind of collective work communities is really just in these one-to-one relationships and that kind of intimacy that comes with that knowledge of what each other need, right? And so his work was really perfect in this context. This was really responding to a lot of these same kinds of things that we're talking about. But we also had the participation of Emma Chubb and Matthew Cummings, who run out of office, a project space gallery out of their kind of outbuilding. That's a former Lutheran meeting house. And then also Lisa Miranda from THIC, which is the Heavy Culture Cooperative, a group of musicians who are working to own not only the venue, but the roles and be able to stabilize space for creative production and also jobs and equitable pay for people who are musicians, techs, barmen, folks at the door, security, all the roles that are part of that world. So we talked about a number of things around what their work is like, what are the kind of grounding values, their organizing ethos. We got into the kind of local context a bit. I think, we covered a lot of ground. We had a lot of incredible insights. Towards the end, we kind of shifted more towards what can we do? What can we do here and now within this kind of given context? And they offered a lot of sage advice. I mean, we were chosen because they're kind of embodying future possibilities and alternatives, right? Where they are, finding different pathways and modeling different ways. They suggested to us as a municipal entity and to institutions generally to be open, be responsive and adaptable. To be stewards is not to be static, and to really be responsive and meet the moment, and be welcoming and provide space for them, and also I think importantly to let certain things go in that process. So there was a lot of important takeaways. I think those were a few that kind of stuck out to me, but I don't know if you all have other thoughts to share.
I thought it was a great panel discussion. I think we should aim to include that as part of the ECA Invitational in years moving forward. I think it offered a lot of depth to like really important topics. It was well attended. It was not overwhelmingly well attended, but I felt like it was attended by people who were very interested in the subject, and like I like that we're able to offer that too. And it was kind of the first time we were using the city space. Like it was the first time we have like a number of rentals included each year, and it was the first time like paying for the space. And I just felt really good that we had invested in that, and I think it was really meaningful. Also for Jeff, like for the exhibiting artist to be able to like go more deeply into his work as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a great event, and I think if we continue to program this kind of thing with the invitational or other panel discussions throughout the year, I think people will start to kind of, clue in and it's just, that was our first one, and it was really well attended for our first one, but I think we could get traction going further, and I thought it was a great conversation. I feel like it's a conversation that needs to continue. And I think certainly with the what's happening with One Cottage Street, I feel like we do need to have these conversations, and not just once a year, like to really continue that. So maybe that is something that we consider in the future. So yeah, and Maud, thank you for all your hard work, because Maud spearheaded that that event. So thank you.
Fantastic.
Was that filmed at all?
No.
So in the spirit of documentation, going forward, if we do that kind of thing again, that might be a nice way to capture some of that. It could be phone and Instagram stories, it could be an actual camera, because like we weren't able to go, but it would be awesome to watch that recording if it existed, because it sounds really great.
Yeah, there were parts of it that came together last minute. It was like our 5th date option, our like, it was a Monday night. There were a few things about it that were like, sub-ideal, but like it came together.
Yeah.
But I think, for sure.
Great, and I will just say, not totally the same, but related, the three of us will be, hopefully by, we're gonna be doing the review. So we had, October 30th was the date for all of the submissions, the applications. I didn't check the final number, but I know it's at least 25 submissions, which is fewer than we've had, but we have a lot of months plugged, so it's fine. We have well more than enough, and there are some great applications, and there might be more than that. I just didn't check until since the day before. So we'll be doing our review, and we'll have our 2025 anniversary years lineup of artists before the end of December.
And I think we talked about maybe doing some group shows too,
Yes.
which I think will help with the art walk. We were wanting to do group shows in some of those quieter months so that we can drive some participation. So that's something that we'll be considering as well. Okay, and then Easthampton Futures Project.
All right, so Tuesday, December 3rd at 6, we're having a public sharing of the Easthampton Futures Project. I had the pleasure of having tea with Mina Kim, who had been at the Massachusetts Cultural Council for many years. She was very involved in the Easthampton Futures Project. We were going to do our co-announcement together on March 18th, 2020. She was in town. We talked for like 2 hours. She's hoping to be there. We're going to be talking more. It would be really fantastic for her. She's working as an independent consultant now for art organizations and artists. But it was great to see her and to share more about what's going on in Easthampton. And yeah, so this will be another opportunity to acknowledge what's going on and the changes that are taking place and the importance of being active and responsive in protecting the work that we do. And yeah, also that night, I'd like to announce our 20th anniversary lineup of programs. So I'll be checking in with a number of you in the coming weeks to just like confirm or, check in about if I have any questions. And I'll share the lineup with you all, but I'm gonna it'll be printed out, and as people are leaving, we can just hand them out. But it's pretty exciting. Olive's been working on a little Easthampton City Arts celebrating 20 years logo, which I'll share with everyone.
Contact Jeff at Easthampton Media. You wanna have a camera
Great.
there.
Oh, we do. That's a really,
Can I just ask you to clarify, so is Mina, what is her role with the,
so
What did you
Mina
say?
Kim was.
I mean, I know her, but what is she?
Oh yeah,
sorry.
you do know her. What was her role?
I'm
So
sorry, is she presenting or moderating or, I'm sorry.
We're talking. I was thinking that a 5 to 10 minute introduction with context, just giving context, not as someone deeply immersed in our community, but as someone who worked for MCC. She has said, and also I talked to her, if she wanted to write something, she was in all of her years of doing what she's doing, this was one of the top community engaged processes she's ever seen. She attended them and she saw the work that went into them and she saw what was generated as a result and was just what you're doing is really important. And the fact that it was already done while these changes are happening. I mean, the changes, we're talking about them now, but they've been happening. Just gives us a lot of, we created a lot of resources for ourselves and they're meaningful because they were truly generated by our community. So yeah, and I think she has family nearby, so she's yes. I just don't, this is being recorded, so I don't wanna be she's gonna be here. But that was the feeling, is she'd really like to be here and we're gonna talk in the coming weeks and
Awesome.
she wanted to just digest a lot of what we talked about. And I basically said to her if she is able to either participate or, we were talking about maybe she would want to write something. I also said to her are there other, if she could think of other, before COVID I used to go around the state a lot and share a lot about the work we do here in Easthampton and would speak at convenings for MCC. I haven't done that as much. And I was if there's anything like that, because she's people should know about that. This was really important. And we were both talking about how in many communities, people can sometimes be under the assumption that there's a specific way to do something. And it's no, you have to work with what you have, identify the resources you do have. So yeah, there's some sharing that could happen. So we were just talking about that. But yeah, it was great. It was really nice to see her. I hadn't seen her in years and it was good to connect.
Would that be something maybe the mayor could come to and?
I've told the mayor, it's on our calendar. No, I want the mayor to say some words.
Right. Because that would be another piece of,
Yeah, and I'm talking to CETA as well because I want to bring it to depict. I want to bring in a lot of those boards. I want to kind of bring a lot of what was generated in the space into the space. I want to line the walls of Old Town Hall, the hallway, just having it, because a lot of people in our community were part of that, and I think it does sort of just viscerally like re-engage that. And then I think a lot of people in our community were not there. And we have a lot of new members of our community, and so to sort of like witness and be immersed a little bit. And I'm gonna talk to Galaxy. I thought it'd be nice to have like food, I don't know, something like a little, just,
Yeah.
it feels really
A little
special.
special, yeah.
So,
That'd be great.
yeah, we'll see what we can do there.
I have to head out unfortunately, but it was so nice to meet all of you, and I'll probably see you again sometime soon in Easthampton.
Thank you, Alice,
Thanks,
for
Ella.
coming.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for all of you doing.
I think those are our program updates.
Yeah. All right. So let's just dip into Easthampton Cultural Council update.
Yeah, so since we last met, the cycle was opened, it was closed. We did hold the event on the 19th of September. Tracy was there, Steve was there, I was there, one or two other folks from the council were there. We had 5 people attend, which was up from the previous year.
No, it was a good amount.
So, but it was good. So we had good discussions and helping out people. We had, I want to say, 76, is that right? 71 applications, which is an increase from last year, so that
Awesome.
was great. We were not able to hold a voting meeting last month, so we will hopefully start voting at our next meeting coming up in 2 weeks. Are you familiar with the cultural council process, Peter, by the way? I don't want to assume that you know.
Vaguely.
Yeah, so basically we are funded by the Mass Cultural Council, which Pasquina and others have mentioned already. We get an allocation of grant money every year from them, and then the Cultural Council, of which we are 3 are on, and then there's other folks as well. We basically review all of the applications, and then we vote on who and what and how much to allocate to.
Right.
So the cycle opens up, or it opened up in early September, closed in mid-October, and then we have basically until the end of the year to announce to the folks who have received grants and who have not. And then they are able to start their projects this year, but because it's technically, the fiscal year runs a little bit differently for Mass Cultural Council, but most of the projects will be taking place next year. So, so we are not 100% sure if we'll be able to do voting in November yet or not, because we are still working through our financials. So the auditor here, apparently it's part-time, and so we've been having a little bit of issues with that. Yes. Something I learned. So that was a little bit of a hiccup, but she got her piece in. I am going to probably be meeting with our treasurer this week to just finalize, because the way it works is we get the grant money from Mass Cultural Council, and then we have other accounts that we have to reconcile and come up with the final number. So we can't actually start voting until we know how much money we have to give away. We'll probably have around $18,000, give or take, this year, similar to last year.
That's great.
And then, yeah, the other thing, I think that's it. Anything else that I'm missing? You were at the.
My point, the statistic is just the $18,000 we have to give away, the 71 projects asked total for $278,000.
Oh,
Interesting.
That's
So-
a good bit of information to
That
share.
is
So somehow we gotta
Yeah, yeah.
make that work.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll figure that part out. One thing that we've been discussing as part of the ECC, which hopefully will come together next year, is we've been talking about putting together some kind of a regular, maybe like quarterly or monthly, depending on how we come up with this, but regular gatherings for like networking events essentially for folks who are in the creative arts or in the creative spaces in Easthampton and beyond, because we just felt like with these kinds of info sessions and the other spaces that we've been seeing people connect in. We did that party earlier this year where we were acknowledging the FY24 grantees, and they were all able to get up and speak about their projects, and that was really great. And so we've been talking about putting something together where it would just be like a, come to this space, hang out, meet some other folks who are interested
Informal,
in.
like
Informal.
social.
Yeah, just kind of like a little social networking thing.
That's
So we're
awesome.
working on figuring that out, but that's something that we're starting to kind of work into. Yeah.
We did that when, years ago, when Burns was in charge here at the old massage school.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah.
was, I think it was once a month or every couple of months, basically what you're
What was it
talking about.
called? Like chat?
CHAT,
Stood for something, I think.
yeah,
Creatives hanging out.
something like that, yeah.
Asking.
But mostly it was just hanging out and
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there was an agenda or a program, but it was just,
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of what we were thinking too, just like basically helping to convene community and space for folks who are in the arts.
because we had people coming
That's
from Holyoke and everywhere else, so
Mhm. And especially with everything that's happening in Easthampton and, you know, there's all these different movements as far as like spaces and whatnot, we thought it might be interesting. So I just want to mention that, I'll keep you all posted if that comes together more
That's so
formally,
cool.
so.
If you felt like ECA could do anything to help other than promote it, let us know. Let you know. Like, I think it could be, you know, if it was like like if it felt like a nice thing to like, I don't know. I just think it's I'm so glad to hear you're doing it.
Yeah, I think at the bare minimum, obviously cross promotion, but we'll definitely keep you posted. Mike on our board has been kind of spearheading that.
That's awesome.
The other thing I did want to mention is, so this is kind of, it's not really in the council's purview per se, but I do think it relates to a lot of what we've been talking about with ECA. So a few weeks ago, I got an email from a local musician. He emailed ECC and the mayor's office, and he had reached out because they're tenants in the Brickyard at 142 Pleasant, and their band, which is Recent History, had gotten notification that the landlord was implementing quiet hours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so that was going to really be a huge impact for that space because it's used by apparently a lot of bands. And so just like with One Cottage, there's similar stuff going on for musicians where they are losing access to rehearsal spaces, things like that. So he did end up, they figured it out. It's long story short, there was apparently one problem band tenant who got evicted, and so the landlord was like, that was not what I intended, it was just had to make sure, you know, we like closed the windows, blah, blah, blah. So they're okay for now, but it is something that I just wanted to highlight for us because just like with the art community, I have a feeling we're gonna probably be hearing more around this kind of stuff from the musicians community too.
Well, Lisa Miranda from Thick said that part of the group came together originally because they ended up buying a studio building.
Yeah.
It's now over by like so you know like the neighborhood by the park across from Eastworks?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if you go the
They're
next
the ones
loop down,
behind.
So I
yeah,
knew that was a secret spot for music,
it's not secret, they bought it.
but it's been like years ago, there was music
Yeah,
there.
so it was just a place where they were like bands, like it was practice space, but they ended up buying it because it was under threat.
Yeah.
And so that's a potential space if other people pop up like that. But that's part of what inspired Thick then, is they realized, oh, we can do this and we have to own it to make it stable. But they could, I don't know, they're in the process of
Yeah,
getting their own
that's good to
space. But
know.
there's definitely like action happening, and part of the idea of bringing those folks into the conversation was to bring them in to these conversations. So I'm really happy to hear that there's like, we're crossing over.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll let this person know. It sounds like for right now, they've alleviated or they've kind of addressed their issue, but you know, again, who knows what will happen in the
Yeah.
future, so that's good to know from that standpoint.
where's the Brickyard?
142 Pleasant.
It's a little one, isn't it in the back? It's on our map. It's this.
Like, is that where
Do you know where-
abandoned building is in
Do you know
that, I
where
think?
it's where Tip Top is? Do you know the wine shop that
Oh,
opened?
yeah,
up?
oh,
Yeah.
It's
okay, in the
that
back,
area.
yeah,
In the
Yeah.
back.
right,
It's this one. That little one.
yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, like Rust Temple left, like there's been a lot of the more informal ones that have left. Like One Cottage was maybe the loudest, but it's certainly not the first.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you. So, Pascalina, can you give us a report on the mayor, the
Yes.
discussion you had with her?
Yes. So I had a meeting with our mayor on
Lucky you.
October 24th. And I have to let you all know what we talked about. She knows I'll be letting you know tonight. So, no.
This feels
That's
very
actually good.
ominous.
I
I'm with
know.
you, Ted.
It's just, no, it's good. It's just, I'm being, well, okay.
There's a lot of build-up.
AG, come on, out with it.
Okay. A few months ago, Tracy and I met with the mayor and her assistant Lindsay, and for 2 hours at the end of this table, and the mayor was very forthcoming in saying that arts and culture was a priority. I've shared this with you, a priority of hers before she leaves office. So, I wanted to follow up with her on that to say, well, what does that mean? What could that mean?
She's leaving office.
Yeah, she's not running again.
Huh.
Yeah, she had, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we've been working with Olive, and having a very part-time person has been really excellent. Like, having social media be consistent, it has freed me up to like also post on social media, strangely enough, but more importantly, to just be present with like a lot of other things. It's been, about 5 hours a week. Olive didn't even like do all of her hours in September, whatever it was. It's just been like very, very good. So it has been a long time conversation about the possibility of having another person working at Easthampton City Arts, coming on a part-time basis, but like for the amount that we're doing, it would be really good. It would sort of scale our infrastructure and our capacity that's a little more connected to the extent of what we're doing. So I know that these things take time, and I wanted to follow up with the mayor about what this would mean and what it could mean. So here's what we talked about. It was very much in the context of everything happening across the street. She's leaving, our mayor's leaving office. We don't know who will be coming in. And ECA needs support. We're doing important work. We're doing a lot of work. And, it would be helpful to have support. So I wanted to talk with her about how realistic it would be to bring on a part-time person. And we talked through a lot of specifics. Like, she initiated talking through all this with a lot of specifics. So like, just so you all know, so our fiscal year is from July 1st to June 30th. The budget, I'm gonna go backwards. The budget gets approved usually in June by city council. It gets presented to city council as early as March. And then they go through a few rounds, and then by May, June, it's approved. So if it's presented in March, you have to have your plans in by like February. So it's like, and that's in a couple months. So that's why it's like very timely. So she was explaining, and I told her, I'm like, I'm gonna talk to the board, and it's being recorded, they're all gonna know. So here's what she said. She thinks that the best thing to do, so I reminded her, when my title changed last year, the mayor suggested, very wonderfully so, to keep my old title on the budget, and we put it at 0, so that it's there for someday if we want to open it back up. She said she did not want to bring on a part-time person who was not fully benefited. Like, that would backfire to bring on an arts person who like wasn't getting benefits. So, and now we're like becoming unionized, my position, like any non-leadership, that's been going on for a while. And so this person would be in the union, and the minimum number of hours to be fully benefited is 20 hours a week, which feels perfect, because Any more than that feels like a lot, like just from a management standpoint. But 20 hours a week would be incredible. So if we're looking at the timeline, that would not be able to begin until July 1st. However, we can't really do a hiring process until it's been approved by city council. So that can happen as late as like June 20th, she said was like the latest it had ever been. So, and I told her, I'm like, if this is a job, we will receive applications. There will be this is like an artist's dream job. And we could really think about what we wanted. So I think, the marketing piece is a big one, but she's also like, you make sure it's someone who wants to, who's good with opening POs and is good with the financial we can really think about what would be really helpful for our organization. So she said, however, in the meantime, so we talked about hiring, I'm just gonna say the marketing assistant, because regardless of who it is, this is what we're talking about. If we could keep that position afloat in whatever part-time capacity we can. So whether it's 5 hours a week or less or more, whatever it is, through June 30th. So we would continue that. And I don't want to vote on that tonight. I want to come back with a financial report and a plan, and we can talk about that at more appropriate, in a way that's more thorough. She also said, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to say all the things I could say. But she was like, she wanted to send a press release out about this, that this was happening in January as the mark of our 20 years. And she's like, what a demonstration for the city in this moment, that this is a very doable thing. And I'm like, really? I don't know if you want to send out a press release. Anyway, I feel, but it's yeah, because then if city council doesn't approve it, all the artists can show up and advocate while there's plenty of time to make changes. But she just thought it's the time. So I wanted to share all that.
Great, awesome.
That's a strong move.
Sure.
Into it, personally.
Yeah, and I will say, sometimes things change.
Yeah.
And so I think my hesitation is just
To be continued,
Yeah.
this conversation. It's not a done deed, but it is a right step in the right
and I think
direction.
very important for all of us to have on our radars. And I would want to work maybe with a little subcommittee to just put together a job description. I'm happy to write it, but I'd like input, and I'd like to really, I don't want it to just be me. I want it to be a group, and I don't want to assume that everyone will want to do it, so we could talk about that. At our next meeting, I will prepare a financial report, and we can talk about what that will mean. What we think makes sense. And I think, so, I would just assume, and I would want to keep it very part-time between now and the end of June.
Cool. Yeah. So, the Cottage Street discussion.
We've kept it on.
Kept it on the agenda. Do we want to talk further about that? One thing I will say is with the public mural that you're restoring and Jana Ugoni and Piper's sculpture, these are artists that were in Cottage Street that will be leaving Cottage Street. And I think it's so important to have those voices and those pieces as part of our, collection. And I think that is something that maybe we can have stories about. Maybe that could be filtered into our social media somehow, and just that it's important, you know?
Yeah.
And the legacy that, you know.
We've been talking about, I've been thinking about that a lot. And it relates to Cottage Street and it relates to our community in general, like with the 20th anniversary. I mean, maybe there's just like a form we put out, like, how have you contributed to the arts community of Easthampton? Or just something. People can nominate people, just to like, doing basically like, however often, but like profiles of like the people of this community. Long-standing, new, just like the whole gamut. But I do think that like, I mean, I'm thinking a lot in terms of the 20th anniversary, and I think it's like a perfect platform where like acknowledgement means a lot and things like that. Like our two newest public art initiatives in the district are by people who spent, like Peggy was there for something like, it was like just short of 20 years. Jana
Janet's
and
been in there
Piper were
40 years.
collectively
40 years.
close to 60, the two
Yeah.
of them together. So like, it's like, geez, you know, and now they're, you know, yeah.
Is there, maybe you know some of this, Ted, but is there a way to like partner with Easthampton Media to do a project around this kind of thing?
Sure.
Because I know.
Just suggest something, you know, do a
Yeah,
bare outline.
Because that might be a great way to approach it, both, because I think it's related yet slightly separate. There's the project potentially of capturing the voices and stories of the artists who were at one cottage and are leaving or are figuring out next steps. And then there's also the 20th anniversary with what you were saying, Pascaline, around like what has art been for Easthampton, which of course this is part of it. I could see a really powerful series of storytelling and video interviews and audio, whatever it could be, that might be really nice to partner with them on that. I know they were doing so much great stuff at Porch Fest, and you know, that's one little piece of it, but I think this would be a really nice like targeted approach perhaps.
Yeah, it would be helpful if we put together like a bare outline of what you're envisioning.
Yeah.
Because there's only a few people who work there, so
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
give them something to go on. And they, oh yeah, well,
Mhm.
it's that other thing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you're talking about all this stuff, there has to be a party.
Yeah.
This has to happen at a party.
There,
Mhm.
and
Pulaski Club,
so
$2 beers.
So, speaking of parties,
Well, the Jupiter Club was fancy cocktails.
we used to do a big party every December at what's now the Blue Room at City Space. And Tracy's been talking about bringing back the party for a few years now. And I think that we should just plan on a party. I would like for it to be a fundraiser again. It always had been a fundraiser. And then last 2 years, we did more like volunteer appreciation and like did away with the fundraising. It was a lot of work. But I think with like a few years break, it would be really fantastic to have a party, a celebration.
I think the community would really appreciate it too.
Yeah, and I think that would be kind of like the final 20th anniversary year, you know, and it should be like a dance party, like it should be fun and filled with acknowledgement and special things.
Yeah, we talked at our September meeting about having a future agenda item for the December party, so definitely that I think would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just with so many newer members on this committee since our last party, what we used to do is we would have a subcommittee that was like to plan that. And we would meet like every couple weeks in the beginning, but usually it would start around September or summer, even July. And you know, we'd make a budget, we'd think about food, we'd think about what we needed, what we want to do, silent auction items, who's responsible for what, blah, blah, blah. Bands, no bands, DJ, blah, blah, blah. So if that's something that's like fun for any of you, and then like as it's getting closer, we would meet every week and, you know, there's usually a lot to do. And we would always bring other community members into that conversation as well. Usually there were like.
I'm going to interrupt, but
No, it's fine.
you might want to think of holding this in a different venue than the city space, because there's the Boylston Room. If you want to draw in that part of the Eastworks and Keystone and those people, have a do right there. In the Boylston Room or I think it's the Jupiter Club.
Jupiter
There's
Club
that
is a
huge
beautiful
room
space,
across
yeah.
from Easthampton Media.
Is it big enough?
It's
big
Oh,
enough, yeah.
the big
Yeah.
space, yeah.
It's
No,
all
it is
the
beautiful.
Club
Yeah.
141, the
Yeah,
old
yeah, yeah.
141, they did a great job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did look in there a couple.
I mean, we would have to, you know, they're not cheap, but
Yeah, yeah.
We did that big fashion show there once.
Yeah, no, that was in the ballroom,
It was the ballroom, yes.
yeah.
But it
So
was
that,
mobbed.
I would love to do that again.
I was just thinking, I'd love to do that
love
again. That was
event.
great.
No, it's a
That
fashion show.
was, it was
Can't think of the-
phenomenal.
I was like on week 2 of my new job.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, by the way, we're
Called-
having a party.
It
And
was
like,
called Strut.
Strut, that's what it
And
was, yeah.
artists made their own outfits.
Yeah.
it was
And it was
amazing.
just,
That sounds
and there
awesome.
was body painting, there was a
We
silent
worked with
auction.
Laudable, so
Laudable put,
Kyle and
you know,
Cassandra.
yeah, it was one
They
of their
brought in like a
brainchilds,
runway,
and it
like
was
a
really good.
whole, it was like a whole thing.
Did you raise a ton of money?
We
did.
We did.
Yeah.
It cost, that event cost some money too, so I think there was an issue, a concern that it cost, you know,
It
but I
cost a
think,
lot and we raised a lot.
yeah, but it was phenomenal.
It was worth it
my
for a lot of
favorite,
reasons.
one of my favorite
I mean, there were
events
like
ever.
500 people there. It was a huge.
It was huge,
It was,
Let's do
it was
that
amazing.
again.
yeah. And we had,
With this part-time person, more capacity.
yeah,
there was an MC, there was, yeah,
live auction.
yeah, it was really
That's
well
when I
done.
met you.
So anyway, yay.
There were high school students there. There were like teachers. There was like the theater teacher at the high school was like getting the high school student. Like it was very come as you are too. Like it was very cool.
But people got all dressed up. It was a good thing. So it was fun. So yeah, I think that is our agenda got cut off, I think.
Turn it.
Okay.
So we've talked about 20th anniversary year. I'll send out the little lineup. You guys, I'm so sorry. I have been meaning to contact the person at Keystone about the residency. I have not followed up with her.
Well, we'll just put that on the next
Yeah.
agenda.
And then new business, one thing I wanted to just mention, I know it's really hard to find nights of the month that work for a bunch of busy people. Now, so we meet on the first Monday of the month. Art Walk is now the first Saturday of the month. I love to take Monday off after Art Walk. But we have this meeting, and I'm wondering if there's another. If there's not, it's fine, but if there's another Monday during the month, I know you have city space on another
I
Monday.
have city space on the third.
Third Monday? Like second Monday?
I have second Monday meetings.
You have second Monday. Fourth Monday?
I
Then
don't
that would be
know.
right before
Yeah.
Art Walk. We
Just
used to
feels
meet
like-
fourth Thursday. It sounds like a little thing, and I'm fine to, it's been this way since May, but like, it really like, if it's possible, it would be very helpful for me.
If we're gonna throw things into the hopper, I would love to meet a little later than 5 as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
5 is tricky.
It's super tricky,
It's
yeah.
hard to get here.
Okay.
Like 5:30 or even 5:15. But usually I'm in meetings right till 5.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Why don't can I see about the 4th Monday at 5:30? And I'll check on the rooms.
Every Monday is the same for me.
Okay.
My only concern would be the end of the month is, like, does that kind of, there's something nice about the beginning of the month.
I agree.
And the end of the
We
month
used
feels
to
like,
meet-
it feels like we're catching up, like, and then, I don't know, it just feels like it kind of throws
We
things.
can keep it. I'm so fine, or we can actually change it to 5:30. That's fine. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm fine we used to meet, ECA forever met the fourth Thursday at 6:30. That was so late. And I did not love meeting at the end of the month. I agree with you. It was a little like,
Yeah, it feels
it
a
felt
little-
backward. It was like, so we can totally leave it alone. I don't want to change the day of the week because that gets
No,
real.
yeah, Mondays are
problematic.
good, yeah, Mondays are great.
We're gonna leave it. But I'm fine to move it later. I mean, it should be whenever it works for people.
Are you okay, Cindy, the 5:30?
5:15, that would be fine, yeah.
5:15?
5:15
Or 5:30.
Okay, let's say 5:15, and then if we have to push it to 5:30, we'll push it to 5:30.
5:15, yeah, even just having that extra couple.
Great.
Okay,
5:30 would be a little better for me, because then I don't have to switch childcare and pick up for the
Okay.
meeting.
Is that gonna work for you?
That's fine.
5:30.
And also, there's no arts walk in January, right?
Right.
Okay, but there is an ECA meet, right? Yes, in January.
Well,
And then December
the
2nd.
first Monday of January, I think we usually take
I don't think we meet in January.
Okay.
Take a month off.
Monday the 6th.
Or
We
rain.
we don't have to meet that day. I mean, we can, but
Well, maybe we can see closer, like next month, what's
yeah,
coming up.
let's see, yeah.
Because it might still be helpful depending on what's
I remember in years, I think last year we met on like the second Monday. You know, it was just like, but I think the holiday also fell on a different moment.
And are we actually gonna meet on Monday, December 2nd, given that Tuesday, December 3rd is the Easthampton Futures Project release?
I'm fine to meet.
I mean, I think it's two different things,
Yeah.
in terms of, if you're
Yeah,
okay.
it might be good actually to like check in.
final prep.
Yeah.
And then this is just a little silly thing. Well, it's not a silly thing. I had mentioned this at the last non-meeting, that the artist had sent some cards, one for me and one for the committee. The September artist, so people, and this is like a book of her art. I just thought, I didn't think to pass them around at the beginning, but you can take a look at them.
Great,
I think
awesome.
that was it. So next meeting is December 2nd at 5:30. All right, new meeting time, 5:30. And thanks for even just entertaining the conversation of switching. I appreciate it, and it's fine.
Does anybody?
I'm gonna edit all future events to 5:30.
Okay, great.
Can you let Barbara know?
All right, everybody, I think,
I have one, I just noticed something, and we don't have to talk about this, but under your, there's school buildings, 2 were bought by Wayfinders. What?
I saw this too. I don't, I was just saying, I had heard something about Wayfinders years ago, and I don't know whatever happened.
Oh.
So that might be an amendment.
I believe that was why there's a question mark, because it's maybe
Yeah,
not the best note taking, but it just was, that was the discussion that we were having.
You know,
Yeah.
The city's holding those buildings in abeyance for a mix of
I just don't know
uses that-
whatever happened.
Well, I will take
Okay.
that out of the meeting minutes if that is,
No.
but, I mean, if that's a question.
Well, if it's got a question mark on it, it's not something, I just thought that, what?
I can't, oh, there it is.
Where is it?
It's under,
It's on this page, the third page, down at the bottom.
yeah. Percentage for public art, and then there's a couple of other. Yeah, second paragraph down, it says, school buildings.
I think it's filled with question marks. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's
It was a
fine.
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
Well,
But thank you for-
not to belabor this, but because I was reading that again, did you have a chance to talk with Connie Denham about those topics?
No. I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah. We can add that to the next.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Meeting's adjourned.
It was nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks
Thanks so
for-
much for coming.
I'll see you in December.
Yeah.
I have a thought, Cindy.
That's fine. 5:30.
Connie Dunham and the all residency group. I have a thought. What if, like, is there a time when your members meet?
Yes.
Like, should I come there and talk to them and just say like, hey, when you're having a show, like, here's what you do, like, here's what things to think about. Would that be helpful?
It might, yeah, it would be helpful.
When do you all meet?
There are four general meetings a year, so I think there's one in December, and I can send you the date. And it's usually like at a Sunday, and they try to be in person, but it's like 5 o'clock on a Sunday. There's also steering meetings that precede the general meeting, and I'm not sure, I feel like, yeah.
It might, because I was thinking it might be better to talk to like
Yeah.
a smaller leadership group than
Yeah.
like all the people.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Because I know like my correspondence, there's like many different people doing many different things, and then it will change, and I'm,
Yeah, there's a lot of turnover, and like we've had all these new members join, and yeah, it's been very erratic. Someone that like took their job really seriously in programming, like had a big quit moment, stuff happens, so it's hard. 50 artists trying to work under one roof,
Temperamental artists.
Yes,
I take my
exactly.
ball and go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody loves
No,
it.
but that's a great idea.
Yeah, cool.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.